Okay, everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Other View podcast, Other View Pod. And we are so honored to have as our first guest the Honorable Ron Coleman, a lifelong friend. We've known him forever. And, Ron, I had my first legal internship job with you. I think I was about 16, 17.
You were definitely young.
Yeah,
Even I was young.
still young. Age is just a number. I'll tell you guys quickly, the way I found Ron was that back then it was Coleman and Weinstein, right? And I think, yeah. And I
Yeah.
saw it high and low. I was looking for literally nerding out, and I was like, I need to find the most brilliant attorney and literally smartest person that I can work under to learn from them. And I found Ron Coleman, and I was like, I want to work for this man. I want to learn from him. And you are a superstar attorney now, top attorney, one of the best attorneys in the United States, obviously. And I know you don't like it when people compliment you, but it's the truth.
No, I don't mind being complimented, but I just, yes, in terms of people who are likely to watch this, that'll work. It's okay. It's fine. I'm very pleased to have had some really great opportunities, starting with bringing you on as an intern, and you were super, and I'm very proud of the fact that we were able to give you sufficient insight into the practice of law that you decided not to go to law school.
I did decide against going to law school. I said, if
Very
I get a
proud.
law degree, I will probably not practice it the way that you have. I had, you know what I mean? But I'm so grateful that, you're doing what you're doing, and to know you. And Ian, who is amazing co-host, he's known you for a long time too. And it's just a small world.
Well, Ian also was when I had my 100th episode of Culmination, I asked Ian to be my guest. So we are in the business of acknowledging how much we enjoy each other's company.
Fantastic.
For people who have not only never met, but who have never been probably closer than 6,000 or 7,000 miles from each other.
Yeah. Well, I've met Adele. I mean, Dubai.
Everyone's met Adele.
Yeah, I'm a world traveler, but it's so cool because 15 years of over 10 years of knowing each other, right?
10 years, yeah. Thereabouts, slightly over 10, yeah.
Yeah.
But when you guys approached me, that was not a juxtaposition I ever expected. To you it's obvious because you're friends, but I like Ian and Adele. Talk about worlds colliding. Girl from Livingston and a guy from Indonesia. Oh, yeah.
Malaysia.
Same thing. Come on, please. Whatever.
It might as well be the same
Out of
thing.
town.
Yeah.
You're out of town.
Yeah.
So first of all,
anything going on? There's not much to discuss, is there? History having been over for a while now.
Yeah, no, not much to discuss right now. No, it's crazy that there's like what happened, right? We're Trump is president again.
Yeah, he is.
We're just discussing.
It's funny. He's not, and yet, boy, he really is, isn't he? Yeah. He's certainly more president than anyone in the White House right now.
He's already making a difference right now. I mean, the world is shifting. Diplomacy is like all over the place. Europeans are scaling back, Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. And it's all in anticipation of a Trump administration. And he's having that much of an impact right now that Biden couldn't even have, despite begging everybody to work with him.
That's so true. And he is more presidential. I mean, he's doing more literally than Biden's been doing. He's been absent since he announced he wasn't running for re-election. And Ian, we were discussing this like a year ago. We were like, okay, it's a 50-50 shot that Trump may win again. Yeah. We weren't sure. It was like a coin toss, right? Yeah. And now, essentially, 3 months ago it was that he had an assassination attempt against him, the first of 3 at least. And we're like, no, his prospects have increased. And then we were like, wait a second, he's going to pull it off. He's going to do it. Hearing everything on the ground, the momentum. Right. This was 2016 amplified.
Mm-hmm. Actually, though, Adele, I remember a couple of people have asked me, was this more or less exciting than 2016? And this is I guess my lawyer brain, like when people ask me when I win a case, which happens sometimes, are you happy? Are you celebrating? And I always say I'm really relieved because losing is the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But winning is just doing my job and having, hopefully getting a jury or a judge to see things my way, which I have only limited control over. This was more of a relief because 2016
Yep.
was just, oh my God, this is happening. Like, I was in Philadelphia working phone banks, on election integrity. For no reason, by the way. Nothing was learned in 2016. Nothing, as 2020 demonstrated. But thinking, listen, I'm doing my duty. I'm a Republican. I've got to pitch in. And then we're watching that needle on the New York Times move and move and move. This cannot be happening. This can't be happening. So it was more of a surprise. On the other hand, this is more of a truly historic moment because the political comeback is unparalleled in American history. It's like something from Roman history. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's
mind-boggling.
historical, right? It's not just another election. This is something that's completely, it's a game changer. Look at who
It
his
is.
cabinet is, right? He's got Elon Musk, he's got RFK, he's got all these people who are not Washington insiders. This is not going to be business as usual. It's always, when Obama won or when Bush won or, when Biden won, it was always the, same old, right? Meet the new boss, same as the old guy, right?
That's
But
right.
here with Trump, it's like, oh, it's complete overhaul. They're
By the
they're going to
time we're done
dismantle the
recording
government.
this, there'll probably be some other amazing, cabinet, announcement or,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
He's learned his lessons. He's learned his lessons, you guys. The first time he was really just, he didn't really understand who he should surround himself with. And he got shot in the foot with some people. But this time around, I mean, he's got everything to give. He
it
doesn't
is
care.
really
Yeah,
something. It's
absolutely.
the level of professionalism and confidence.
that's right.
Yeah,
He has been plotting this and planning this, and he has absolutely surrounded himself with great people.
yeah,
And it just the whole mood, the whole. I remember like a few weeks ago, people were saying if Trump wins, and you were hearing names like Ben Carson, and I was thinking, no, 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 we can't go back that way.
No,
That's not the
no,
move at all. I mean,
that's right.
Ben Carson is a great man,
Oh, he's
but
fantastic.
yeah,
this is a complete. You need a whole new look. The whole new picture, and we're really getting it. And they are so freaking out. And Ian, your friend Elon, I don't know just how friendly you are, but you're obviously a lot friendlier than I am. His role, and I've been saying for well over a year that his acquisition of Twitter and transformation of it, and you and I have had many discussions about this,
yeah,
has been of an historic scale.
absolutely.
You're talking. I mean, you're talking about a one man of historic, absolutely global level resources, richest man in the world at any given time,
Yeah,
deciding to make an investment not only of money but of reputation and prestige,
That's right.
yeah,
and he's changed the world. And again, the freak out on this, the Guardian today just quit,
that's right.
announced that
Yeah.
they're quitting. What a great loss.
The media is dying. He's killed the media with
It's
X.
dead. It's dead, basically.
Europeans are terrified of him, by the way. The European left, they're freaking out about him. They're saying he's the master of disinformation and he's undermining our government. And if you look at what they're actually doing, they're undermining the will of the people, and he is holding them accountable, and they hate it.
That's right.
I will tell you that I remember Reagan being the end of the world to the Europeans. Also, he was going to start a
Okay.
war with Russia. They went absolutely bonkers over there. Uh, it it is one thing that I just will say is that clearly the left in the U.S. has not yet found its footing. They have not come up with their plan. There were no riots in place.
Yep. They expected
Now,
to win.
What's that, Ian?
They expected to win. The Democrats expected to win.
Exactly.
They
They
thought that they
expected to
would
win.
cheat or something. I mean, look at some of these people now reacting
I'm
to
devastated.
the loss of votes, right? 15 million fewer votes than 2020. And they're asking questions now. They're like, did we steal the last election?
Of
And I'm
course
like,
they
yeah,
did.
we did. You guys
Yeah.
did it. Yeah.
I just got to say, just speaking about Elon for a second, Doge, Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hilarious.
This is like a complete takedown and shakedown of the, complicit left, the ones who are squandering the American people's taxpayer dollars,
$2
just
trillion a
complete.
year. 2 trillion a year wasted on God knows what. And that's
What,
up to
what
them
could
to
it have
find
done?
out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a gigantic point because not only is government going in directions that no normal person really could possibly approve of, morally, culturally, economically, everything that could be done wrong is being done wrong. But as you guys are observing, the money, it's true we have America's economy is so preposterously resilient. It's amazing that we're still here, that the power's still running and all these things. But all that money disappearing is not disappearing. It's going to NGOs.
Yep.
It's going to all kinds of slush, and it is funding the war on our civilization around the world.
Yes.
The threat from Trump is utterly existential. And by the way, God forbid anything should happen to him. And I really do wish he'd lose a few pounds. Notwithstanding, he's a beast. The man's a beast. I should be so robust. I'm 61 and I'm not that
Agreed.
robust. But he's amazing. Having said that, oh man, if he could drop 20 pounds or even 30, I mean, come
Just
on.
for his health, yeah.
Yeah.
They say the reason that he loves to have McDonald's isn't because, it's a tasty, it's unhealthy, obviously. Believe it or not, it has to do with his safety. I think he's literally worried someone's gonna try to poison him. I mean, it's crazy. The attempts on his life. You never know. Any given moment, someone makes a run for McDonald's. Who could it be for? You have a
Well,
no, honestly, right?
the only reason I raised it is that's a fascinating point that I never heard of before. Who would have thought that McDonald's would be the answer to that problem? But is that look who's the vice president now? It's not Mike Pence. It's not Mike Pence.
Yep.
It's a guy who is so much better qualified to be president than any vice president of recent memory, and who has come from the American
Exactly.
underclass,
Appalachians. Yeah.
gone through everything. I won't hold it against him that he went to Yale Law School.
American. Rival with
Just
Princeton, where Ron went, right? Well, undergrad, right?
it's incredible times, and it's conversations like this. Also, I mean, you talk about the media being dead, and everyone is getting his news from X.
Yep.
Which I mean that's been the case for me for years. But podcasts, I don't quite understand how they let podcasting get this far. Look at the Rogan effect. Look at all the thousands and thousands of people. And it took me a while to get this because I didn't start my podcast until 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a while to understand that these are all authentic forms of not only communication,
Mm-hmm.
but they're national conversations. It's the samizdat of the 21st century, and I'm surprised that the censors were so relatively ineffectual with getting censorship over because after all, even though there are many platforms, but getting knocked off Apple Podcasts would be a gigantic deal for anyone. It really hasn't happened, as far as I
No, it
know. There
hasn't.
might be some of the absolute animals, the really worst people, I suppose, are not allowed on. But it's an amazing thing. I mean, I myself still don't listen to podcasts because I just don't have the patience. But this would definitely be one that I recommend that everyone. Well, if you're listening this far, obviously.
Of
You
course.
know, you're right, Ron. How did they let the podcast get so far? You have AOC coming out and actually asking, hey, Trump supporters, what podcast are you listening to? She obviously wants to make a go in 2028 or beyond for the presidency. We don't know how
Yeah.
far she'll get with it.
She
But
wants to go
You
on
know
this
what?
podcast. Yeah, she wants to make an
So, so
appearance.
that so this goes back to also what you were saying a second ago that I meant to jump on, and now I'm going to make this incredible segue. The denial. They thought they were going to win because they were looking at metrics and indicia that were utterly out of date.
Yep.
that's right.
Besides being lied to by the consultants and the
Completely
Rick
lied.
Ross's
100%. The
100%.
media.
The media just was bought and purchased, and they believe. Imagine bribing someone to say something and then believing what they say.
This happened in the
That's
UK with the nudge unit at number 10, right, at Downing Street, the Prime Minister's office. They had this nudge unit, and they were selling COVID, right, the scamdemic, all the fears that millions and millions of British people would die, and this was a lie. They knew it was a lie. They put it out there, and then guess what? The government itself started believing it.
so the same thing happened not only with respect to the election, but also they, the whole moment where Kamala, right? Kamala.
Kamala?
What?
I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Yeah, can you
Nobody
imagine?
knows.
That's why I tweeted yesterday.
We
What?
won't bring up the
What?
nicknames.
How do you pronounce it anyway? I mean, who
Even
cares?
she herself mispronounces her name all the time, so I don't know which is which. Yeah.
Depends on her audience.
She
Yeah.
had the chance. So, of course, she couldn't go on Rogan because she's utterly incapable of holding up a
Yeah.
conversation. And I want to say on that level, Rogan is not William F. Buckley, okay? This was not going to, didn't have to be heavy lifting. She just had to be
Yeah, it was an
a genuine
intellectual.
Yeah.
person.
Just be normal.
She is
Be yourself.
incapable of being a genuine person.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? They tried to conceal her from and shield her from the media for as long as they could. But
Even
when push
AOC
came to
said
shove,
this.
right?
AOC said that the reason people didn't vote for the Democrats was because they were not genuine. And obviously she considers herself genuine, and that's debatable. But she herself doesn't think Kamala is genuine.
I think that AOC is genuine. I don't see. I mean, I think that she's
She's a
a
radical.
midwit radical whose views are mostly the result of not limited talent in the sense of being retarded, like many members of Congress and the Senate are, but she's probably right in there. Speaking of intelligence, last night, this is Ron Coleman's idea of a good time, while relaxing, winding down from my day of ballot watching out here in rural Pennsylvania. I watched a video of Joe Biden on the Senate Judiciary Committee
Mhm.
talking to Antonin Scalia, the nominee,
Wow.
about Roe versus Wade. And the astonishing thing is, I mean,
He was more
Biden.
conservative back then, no?
Well, but he was certainly more conservative, but he was also and far more lucid. But to tell you the truth, he held up his end rather well.
Mm-hmm.
He held up his end rather well, and he certainly didn't stutter. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
It was an amazing thing to see Joe Biden that lucid and that engaged. And when you consider, again, going back to denial, I have a little bit of a relationship with a professor that I had at Princeton named Sean Wilentz. My wife doesn't like me to talk about this by name, but she's not going to watch this. He's a great guy. He was my history professor. When he got tenure at Princeton, he invited my girlfriend and me to his house for cupcakes. We were pretty close. In fact, he grew up in the same neighborhood as I did, even though he was like 15, 20 years older than I am. And he wrote a book about the anti-slavery movement in the United States, the roots of the anti-slavery movement, well before the Civil War. No Property in Man, and he said, he wrote an editorial about how the 1619 Project got it all wrong. Was 1619? Was that the number?
Yeah, 1619. Yeah.
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 But he kind of got it was an unwoke position so his wife is the editor of The Nation. Okay. So
Okay.
we always got along great. We didn't keep it too, but at one point we were emailing a couple of years ago, and I said, well, you must recognize, right, that Biden isn't
Lucid.
really such a sharp guy, that and his best days are behind him. He said, "No, he had a childhood. He has a childhood stutter." I'm thinking to myself, this is one of the most accomplished public intellectuals. He's the one during the Clinton impeachment who wagged his finger at the at the House during the trials and said, "You're going to regret this. Your
Mhm.
history will not forgive you."
Yeah.
That someone of that level could convince himself that this was a childhood stutter. I don't know how they can possibly recover when when they're so intellectually. You know what it is? It's not unable. It's disengaged. They refused to
Yep.
engage with facts, with the laws of physics and gravity and economics. It's about feelings. It's about
Yes.
representing and
Yeah.
showing what you stand for. They could be in a permanent death spiral. And here's the thing: the way that they have prevented that from taking place earlier has been capturing all these institutions,
Yep.
government and non-government. Trump is a gigantic threat to that. And by the way, speaking of non-government, if the kind of things he was talking about in the video I saw this week involving universities.
Mm-hmm.
Seizing the endowments. Yeah. Will Chamberlain suggested it ages ago.
Yes, that's an old Will Chamberlain idea, and Trump has a specific trigger. No, I don't know legally if there's really a way to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that he is moving the Overton window in a direction of getting the public and the political classes to understand that this this isn't going to go on anymore. We're
Yep.
going to it's so
But
mind-boggling.
it is, and here's what it comes down to. As you said, you're a former professor. It's the media lied to everyone, and they gave them a. First of all, everyone was programmed in a sense through look at the
Right? They
propagandization
heard
through
people
Hollywood.
believed lies that they wanted to believe.
Yeah. It's
That's right.
confirmation bias. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's all kind of a coordinated effort. It's a subconscious psyop. What happened was look at Hollywood. Look at the stuff that Netflix, HBO, in the music industry, everything that's been put out there in conjunction with the media, the mainstream legacy media,
Even books and
trying
video
to
games.
get
Books and
books
video
and
games.
video
They
games.
depict Trump in certain ways that make you think badly of him, think poorly of
Well,
him.
it's not just that, right? Exactly, but it's also that they've desensitized people. They've made them actually kind of look away from the practical application of things, the analytical way of thinking, being critical thinkers, forcing them to be force-fed information, letting their emotions lead the way, triggering
Yep.
them emotionally. And what do? Lead in with Trump, the big bad monster, who, if you look at it, before 2016, look at how they were covering him then. A complete 180, a completely different scenario. And you're right, it's the emotional kind of, we can even talk about this at some point, the demasculinization of society. I'm going to
That's right.
say it.
It's
You
about
had
wanting to be it's about making people want to be a part of a group, right? They don't care about truth. They only care about spouting the narratives that will make them fit into that group. That's why you
an
see a lot
Algonquin
of,
Club, the Algonquin Club, exactly.
yeah,
And as Jane, as my wife has taught me, that is a female tendency. Not that males don't have it also,
The Gossip
but a
Girls.
man distinguishes himself by leading a group, and to a large extent by stepping outside of a group and daring to be different. And when a woman does that, she comes across as masculine.
yep,
So you've got somebody like Margaret Thatcher, okay? But women,
Woman.
she always tells me how women look around the room to see how they're supposed to respond
yep,
to to something that someone has said or to a joke. These are adaptive traits. These are
Sure.
adaptive traits. This is not like a
That's right.
character assassination. And we're talking about the mean. We're talking about average people, average, and someone like you, Adele, who has made it her business to go out and have her own voice and do her own thing. You realize that, first of all, a woman like you can have difficulty
Of
finding a
course.
man who can handle that.
Yeah. Well, thank God I found someone who is able to, and he's a very strong man. But
Well, that's what
but
you
I
have to
have
be.
to
That's right. That's
mentally.
right. I mean,
But I
I
have to,
married a woman
right?
who got into a law school
Exactly.
that rejected me, which, I mean, quite a few did. But when we were dating, she asked me what my SAT scores were. Listen to the whole story. And I said, I'm going to tell you something. Cause she got into Stanford Law School and I didn't. But I got into Princeton for undergrad and she didn't.
I
Okay.
used to do that, by the way. Back in the day, I used to ask what a person's SAT score was, and I used to be like, okay, only have to be like above genius level to be considered. But I
Well,
literally realized that those things don't
so,
matter.
so I actually had no business getting into Princeton on whatever it is. I said, I'm going to tell you, but I just want you to know before I say it, yours was higher. Yours definitely was higher. She was a much better student. She went to Hopkins undergrad. She should have got, but she's more of a nerd, and I was more of a like an all around guy. So she said, I don't, and we traded numbers, and mine wasn't indeed a little bit lower. She said, I don't really care. I wanted to see how you handled the question because the last guy I went out with freaked out because I said, no, you don't understand something, Jane. I I don't believe anyone's smarter than I am. I don't care what the SAT says. I don't
Right.
care what the admissions officers say. I, you know, and it's
But Ron, you got that early on. You realized the scam, the lie, how they're trying to basically have everyone adhere to this, completely wrong, incorrect way of quantifying someone's intelligence. Those tests don't actually quantify people's intelligence.
well, but when they do, we have to disregard them.
Yeah, because you have to be
Exactly.
self-confident, right? You have to realize that a test doesn't define who you are. You define who you are. You are the creator of your own destiny. That's what makes you, an alpha or sigma, whichever. I don't know the
Yeah.
difference
Yeah, I
between the
don't
two.
know either. I will tell you, I have definitely I I've definitely created my own Ron Coleman, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But it is, but it's, the fact is, there are so many vicissitudes in life, and there's so many things, opportunities that come your way that are in the right or wrong time or place that you have no control over. God runs the world, and the best possible thing, and this is something I see in both of you in your careers, is to find a space for yourself where you can do what you do very well. And Ian, I started following you years ago because I just always appreciated your takes. You are someone who's 1 time out of 10, you absolutely blow it. I mean, hilarious. I mean, right, but 9 times out of 10, and that's pretty high. That's a pretty high percentage, especially for somebody with a big following.
Thanks.
That, and that's another thing about social media is that really the gatekeeping in terms of people's ability to prove whether they have something to say, whether they know how to listen to other people. So many blue accounts have disappeared because there's no longer any blocking, or there isn't the same kind of blocking, or because they're going back to our theme, they're not capable of having an analytical
That's right.
discussion about the issues. They're only capable of being offended or calling names. And the problem is this, let's not overstate the quality of public discourse in history or even in recent history. But just as there was sort of a golden, there have been kind of golden ages for different
Mm-hmm.
aspects of civilization.
Yeah.
In the 60s and 70s and 80s, there were definitely real conversations going on among real people who disagreed on real things. And we've lost that. We've lost not everyone, but the culture is really disconnected from that phenomenon.
The William F.
I mean,
Buckley's, right? Those
Yep.
conversations that used to have, the debates, they were wonderful.
well, let me tell you guys something. You're starting a podcast, and you brought on the quirky and amusing intellectual of the right, Ron Coleman. I will love to see if you get on anyone
Of
from the
course,
left.
left,
They
absolutely.
We would try. We certainly try.
no, you'd like to. So would I. They very, very seldom will, because either they will be tarred with the brush of fascism, or they simply don't want to answer questions. They're not up for answering questions. If you pull it off, if you get someone from the other side, like the closest thing to anyone who is that I, in my scope of what's going on, anyone who is at least sticking a foot in the pool of listening to other sides is Brianna Wu.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
But Brianna Wu has other things going on.
Look, Ron, we actually launched this. We, yeah, she does. But we definitely launched this with in mind. We want to invite intellectuals from all over the political perspective. We want
Oh,
people,
invite away.
scientists, everyone.
I just want to see. I want to see you get them.
Oh, we will. I promise. We're gonna get it done, and
Well,
it's gonna
you're
be.
super connected. Okay, so that.
That helps.
Yeah, we're sorry. It's all good. I'm back.
Welcome back. Yeah.
I think so. This is
What can
this
we?
is
So what can we say? What can we in the remaining time? Where can we go that isn't
okay.
just the same conversation that everyone else is having, just it's us three having it?
I love this. I think. Okay, Ian, if you allow me, Ron. I really think the audience would love to get your expertise and your opinion, your analysis rather, on what's going to happen with all these cases, all the legal, civil, the state level cases, the federal cases that they've leveled against Trump. It's my God, everyone's kind of, running into the shadows now with their tails between their legs, hoping that he'll just forget this. And I've gone on publicly and I've said, I think he should go after the people who are the biggest advocates for taking him down. He should set an
100%.
example for the ages. Don't get me wrong, Trump has absolutely become more humbled. I think he's come to God, come to the universal energy, if you want to call it, that dictates a lot of events and whatnot. But he is in no way, shape, or form should he just allow for this to slide.
Well, Mike Davis
Jackson,
won't let it slide, right? So.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's really
Mike.
good.
He's hearing the right. Look, this is not going to be another Jeff Sessions kind of Department of Justice. There's
Recuse
this is
himself. No
not
recusing.
this is not a matter of just disclaimer. I represent Donald Trump and the Trump campaign, not in connection with these particular matters. I'm speaking entirely as just a guy sitting in a hotel room in rural Pennsylvania, as I am today. There are a number of cases. The New York case, state case, the 34 convictions.
Yep.
The sentencing was put off.
Yep.
Yeah.
The judge is basically vamping. He's playing for time. I think he might even be hoping that the appellate division, the first department, the appellate division in New York, rules and prevents him, allows him to not have to dismiss the case himself. That would be humiliating. So but it does seem like if he wanted to avoid that ruling, he would do it.
It saves a lot of trouble, right? Saves
Yeah.
him a lot of trouble.
So I don't know procedurally, Trump is absolutely entitled to get appellate review on all this. And that's what, a concern I have with the Jack Smith cases.
Yeah.
They're going to
Yeah.
go away. They're all but dismissed now. Again, there has to be some procedural way for appellate review, because there's a requirement not only to vindicate President Trump, but to reestablish the rule of law in the judicial system, which has been abused terribly by a complete, not only a distortion. I use the word abuse too much, but what's happened to the prosecutorial power in this country, both at the state and federal level, has been absolutely criminal. I certainly hope and expect that the Trump administration is going to act on this in ways that it didn't. The previous Trump administration did not. I think that there is an appetite for it in the judiciary. Many members of the judiciary have not spoken up on this. I did a post about a week ago about what I thought were three very important judicial reforms that Congress can and should
Okay.
take to deal with some of the obvious initial problems. So the January 6th cases are all but gone. Putting the appeal issues and the preservation and the resolution issues aside, the state case in New York is about to be gone. The judgment, the sexual assault judgment, is utter garbage, and not only with respect to Donald Trump, but even Alex Jones. The abuse of defamation law as just
Yes.
a free floating
Yes.
form of political litigation lawfare is absolutely criminal. These numbers are unsustainable. These were not even cases that should have been allowed to go forward. The plaintiffs were not defamed. They did not suffer any damages from defamation, and the damages assessed were unconstitutionally excessive. It's utter garbage. And what else is there pending against Trump? Georgia, please. That is,
Joke.
As a joke. Yeah.
that's yet another joke. So I don't think any of these things are going to be a problem for Donald Trump. The question is, will his task and the task of the people who work with him is going to be not so much to resolve these issues, but to sell. Forget the media because they're piffed, but to sell to the electorate the truth that this is not about retribution. This is about justice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is about saving the judicial system and first of all, people have to be reminded that the Department of Justice is a part of the executive branch, always has been,
You're
can
right.
only be. This idea of an independent justice department is, first of all, a lie. It's an utter lie, but it's also a constitutional lie.
But it's been
It's
acting independently also. It has not been acting in the way it's been derelict of its duties, so to speak.
That's right. That's why it's a lie. So there's a lot of cleanup to be done, and I think the vote, the sweep of the houses and the presidential vote demonstrate that. First of all, it's understated because in the big blue states, the cheating has continued to be phenomenal.
That's right.
Yep. Look at
It's
Wisconsin. Eric Hovde
in
should have won.
election reform at the congressional federal level, which the Constitution provides for, must happen, and must happen in this Congress. Once that happens, it's a whole new ballgame. And I don't think there's anyone in Washington who doubts that it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah. Do you
So
think the people going, all these government hacks, the ones that are probably going to be cleaned out, do you think they'll ever be held accountable? The ones going after Donald Trump, the ones going after Elon Musk, all these agencies, trying to stop him from doing any of his business with just nonsense, right? Pure nonsense. Do you think they'll be held accountable in any sense besides being, let go?
I think that they will be, not to the extent we would probably most like them to be, but I don't think it's going to be like it was last time. There are serious issues that have to be addressed.
yeah,
And I think this, the Supreme Court and most of the circuit courts are going to back up whatever the president does on this. It doesn't mean that, by the way, first of all, I have to keep saying that listen to your podcast and figure out what are your quirks, what are your verbal tics that you want to get out. And mine seems to be I mean, because whenever I'm doing reels, I'm taking out lots of I means, and I'm not even that
I
mean of a
think
guy.
basically and actually a lot. When I record myself speaking, I'll say that, and then I will try to correct myself.
So what I was saying was, I think there will be. There is a problem still, especially at the state court level. You have state Supreme Courts that are really political, and to a large extent, unless there are political changes in those states, that's going to remain a problem.
Yep.
So this is no, this is huge. I want to shift a little bit, if everyone's okay with it. I want to talk about something that's very sensitive for maybe a lot of people out there. The Jeffrey Epstein situation. He's no longer with us, but his brother recently went on to a podcast and he discussed, certain things. Trump has come out and said, I believe, that he will release the Epstein client list. Ron, you've done some work on, sealed documents, right? In the past in New York, you've done a lot of work on it. You're a foremost expert. Do you think first of all, what steps, right, would even have to be taken to start the process?
Well,
And do you think it's going to come out?
that's a really good question, because material that has been sealed by the court, the president has no authority to release. That would be a violation of a court order.
Okay.
But to the extent that the Justice Department has anything to say about the sealing of materials, he can change the policy of, and he should, and evidently he says he will, change the policy of the Justice Department, which would then be empowered to no longer seek the sealing of such information in ongoing litigation, but also to request that previously sealed materials be unsealed for reasons that they would set forth.
Makes sense. This could also result in us knowing what really happened with Russiagate, for example, who the conspirators are, who came up with that whole Russiagate scheme to take down Donald Trump during his first term. We will know now. Right now, we don't.
Well, we don't know in any official way. I mean, I think, between Lee Smith and Amanda Milius,
Yep.
Got a
and
plot to take
Julie
down the president. Yeah, great
Kelly. I
movie.
mean,
Two good
lots of
friends.
right. Yeah, and so we have a pretty damn good idea, but there has been nothing even remotely like an official reckoning, and there has to be. I mean,
Yep.
there absolutely has to be. I mean, and the FBI has to. The FBI's got to go.
It's
The
just it's the
FBI's
same
got to go.
thing with
James
with Twitter, right? With Twitter and with Facebook and with TikTok and all these other platforms, as we've seen in the Twitter files, not X files, in the Twitter files, the FBI and the DOJ and all these other agencies were involved in censorship of Americans, right? And of the truth and of conversations that for reasons that now seem very, very stupid, but they're not official, right? It's just from X's side that we know. But it would be great to have the conversations that were had between the DOJ and the FBI and all the third parties that they consulted with, these NGOs, right? Some of the academics that were involved in this. We need to know who
Right.
they are and what they demanded, right? Because we don't know. This is stuff that's all under seal at the federal level, and that needs to be exposed.
Well, right, and also FOIA abuse. I mean, it is an absolute joke. The stuff that is required to be disclosed under FOIA and is not disclosed, and there's got to be accountability. There's no accountability on FOIA non-disclosure. There's no accountability on prosecutorial misconduct. There's no accountability on FBI misconduct. There's got to be accountability, and that's something that we've never had. And the only way that's going to happen, there can be administrative law and legislative changes and executive orders. That's all great. People have to really, really be fired, and it's not enough to merely put someone on top of an agency. What we learned about the deep state is that it's real.
Yep.
People who can be fired must be fired. People who cannot be fired under civil service laws need to have their power restricted. They could be put in charge of cornfields, whatever it takes. This is the moment, and you would think that after a career in private business, in industries including real estate development, real estate management, casino ownership, and many others, Donald Trump should know how to do this. There has to, if you fire as many people as you have to until you get to the guy who can actually start doing what he is instructed. That goes also for the Pentagon. What an utter disaster. That's got to be undone.
Yep.
This is, I remember speaking with people back when I was actually a journalist, international journalist, and they were complaining to me, people who are former FBI, former CIA government, that they saw the degradation and the diminishing of the quality of the work the FBI was conducting under James Comey. That's when kind of it all started. He's there until 2017, I think. You can see a complete the toxicity of the culture. You can see. I'm going to bring this up. You had Pete Hegseth,
Excess.
Hexit, thank you so much. Apologies, Pete, if you're watching this. Who was just, nominated to be to work in the government, the head of I think the Pentagon
He
or
wrote a book
State
on it. He
Department.
wrote a book on how the government is failing its soldiers, and it is right. The DoD has completely
Yes,
failed its military. You know,
right.
people are being sent to the front, and they don't know why, or I mean, it's just a waste of money. It's a waste of manpower. It's a waste of lives. We saw that with the loss of 13 lives in Afghanistan during the disastrous pullout. That again, no one has been held accountable for. General
It's
Milley
unnecessary. Yeah.
gave some really bad orders. And again, he's the same guy who defied direct commands from Trump when Trump was president to pull out of Syria. He defied that. He called up Chinese generals. I mean, where's his court martial, right? That needs to happen. He needs to be held accountable for that at least.
Speaking
Agreed.
of speaking of Syria, I just want to add something. Remember when President Barack Obama, who liked to call Trump winning a threat to our democracy, when everyone knows it's exactly the opposite, how Trump is actually restoring democracy, and it was all a lie. Remember when he said that if Assad uses chemical weapons on his civilians, that it would be a red line in the sand. When push came to shove, that incident happened. There was no action. There nothing was done. It's just the utter hypocrisy. And sorry to segue back to it, but to go back to it, yeah, I think this is a time where things are actually going to get done. These red lines are going to be taken seriously.
Well, but they also aren't going to be uttered. I think as much as your point as anything else. Don't make threats you don't intend to carry out. Great powers can't
Right.
do
Yeah.
that. Great powers can't remain great powers. And my friend Michael Malice has raised some eyebrows because he's supposed to be the king of libertarians. Ironic, right? You can't really be a king of libertarians, but
Yeah.
a major thought
Yeah.
leader in the world of anarcho-capitalists, but he's also really anti-communist. If you haven't read his book, Dear Reader, you must read it, and you need to read it to the
Listen to this.
very last page,
Okay.
and you'll understand that Michael is not naive. He grew up in the Soviet Union. He knows what the world is about. You cannot, and this is a problem MAGA has. There's a lot of confusion within MAGA. I don't think Donald Trump has this problem. American power and American values, we're not the world's policeman. You should not be the world's policeman. We're not Israel's big daddy, and Israel has never asked the United States to be its big daddy. But we are the global hegemon, and that is necessary for us because that's the only way we get to still keep being Americans the way we want to live as Americans. The vacuum that is created when you withdraw from hegemony ends up being an invitation to the likes of Russia and Iran, which Barack Obama, in his multiple terms, has welcomed.
It was
That's
intentional.
wicked. That's bad news, and that's going to stop.
There
America
you
needs to
go.
be strong, right? America needs to be strong. And just to be fair, China wants a strong America, Russia wants a strong America because it means stability. And when America is weak, everyone can do anything, right? Iran can act out, and they know this, and they can't keep Iran under control. I mean, Russia doesn't like a belligerent Iran any more than they like a belligerent Turkey. But that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Turkey's being extremely belligerent. It just canceled its diplomatic relations with Israel, unheard of, right? That's a move in a horrible direction. And we can thank the Biden-Harris administration for it. Where are they? Where's the president? Does America even have a president right now? Or is he just going to go on TV and say, don't?
Unfortunately, it doesn't. It's he's absent right now, and I feel bad for him. I really do. I think that what they've done to him is abuse, and it's horrible. And I hope that he's able to live a long life and enjoy the rest of his life, with his family and doing things that he actually wants to be doing.
He doesn't like to be sitting as president right now, that's for sure.
No, he does not. One other thing, I have to point this out, guys. It's very funny how, with the exception of, let's say, the George Bush's. Ronnie, there. I think we lost you for a moment.
All right, hold on a second. I've got a looks like it could be a mission critical call, but so let's ask that one question, and then I'll call that person back and do your outro.
No, it's okay. We'll wrap it up.
Yes,
So
I think it would.
Okay, amazing. Just I want to calibrate a little. Does it seem a little fuzzy to you, Ian?
No, it's fine now. It's better now.
Okay, good. So essentially, we had all these people calling on, saying how the Republicans want to start wars. Actually, no, it's been the Democrats. I mean, you have George Bush obviously also, but it's the neocons, and you come to see. Look at when Jimmy Carter was president, a Democrat. What happened in the Middle East? You had the situation with Iran. Exactly. You have the situation with the situation in Israel against Hamas. You have, the Ukraine and Russia. All these things are being fueled. Trump wanted to withdraw and end all the wars abroad, all the endless wars that were unstoppable, the Afghanistan. We had
but he also wanted to make America's military strong, right? That he understands the ancient Roman principle of if you want peace, prepare for war.
That's it. That's exactly it. And for some reason, the far left, unlike the traditional Democrats, and you used to be at the Henry Jackson Institute. I don't have to tell Adele about it, even though he was before your time. But Democrats used to understand this. Today's Democrats are radicals. They have both undermined the quality and fitness and readiness of the military and despised its role in world affairs. That's got to stop.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the CIA today. They charged a guy, a CIA agent, who was selling out America. He was literally posting top secret information on Telegram to Iran. Yeah, that would have never happened 10 years ago.
Well,
Ron,
okay.
You go
As long as the FBI has been in charge of counterintelligence, which let's face it, that's been a long time problem.
Yeah.
Ron, thank you so much for being our first guest, for being on our show. We love having you on. It won't be the last time. And thank you. It's a wrap. You're over in Dubai. I'll be there soon.
I'll come back here. It's nice here. It's nice and
I'm
warm.
coming. I made a brief stop over in Sweden, believe it or not.
Dubai, Indonesia, right?
He's going to stay from Malaysia for a while, but it's great to see you.
Well, good luck with your new podcast, and it is a great honor for me to be your first guest, and I do not think I will be anything like the last. All right, guys, catch you later.
Bye. See you soon.